expand beyond that. And what we know is that if we're going to commit to being a tier 1 player, there's a certain level of aspiration that comes with that. Aspiration and excitement that comes from people within the affluent marketplace. They've got to know the Audi brand and understand it, put it on their shopping list. But the second thing is we need to build that aspiration amongst a larger group of consumers. How does Mercedes-Benz and BMW develop the level of recognition they've had, having only been in the U.S. market 20, 30 years now? They've developed a certain level of aspiration. They've developed an experience. Consumers want to get into those brands. They may not be able to do it today, but they know that there's going to be a point in their career where they are going to get into that vehicle. You need to build that level of excitement amongst consumers and build that level of popularity. But we need to do it with our own flavor. And the key is Audi represents a brand that challenges convention. We're progressive in our orientation. We introduce progressive products in the features that they offer, whether it is aluminum and or TDI clean diesel that's tested on the racetrack in Le Mans and wins consistently. And then we're able to take that a couple steps further and bring that into the motor cars that we deliver to consumers each day. So we challenge those traditional conventions that exist out there, but we also need to be bold and confident. I think a progressive brand is one that does that. You're one that stands up and says, this is what I believe in. We think it's the best. You're not necessarily negating what your competitors are doing, but you're just saying, we have a better solution, a better way. And those are the things that we want to start having consumers hear about and hearing our story about the brand, not saying, wow, that's a beautiful car, but knowing the story behind the A8, why it is the best luxury sedan on the road today. And those are the things that we want to start telling those stories, whether it's through Audi USA, whether it's through direct mail communications, and making sure that we're getting that out there. And we're starting to do a lot more of that. We haven't been kind of this quiet, staid brand that we have for years. And certainly things like working very closely with our press colleagues and playing a big role in the social media space help to amplify that story for the Audi brand. The second thing is really a complete change in our media strategy. We went through a number of years where we had a variety of different components out there, a disparate group of media spending across a variety of channels. And what we really did was change our approach. We said, if we want to get noticed, if we want to raise a certain level of awareness, we need to do that with some big properties. Ones that deliver an affluent audience, but as I mentioned earlier, deliver a broad audience so that we can build that level of aspiration for the Audi brand. And what we did is we started with a Super Bowl, we followed that up with Olympics and Academy Awards and those real high-profile properties here in the U.S. that have really made a difference. And what you see is over time, and there's specific blips in the chart here that indicate those highs, we've raised the level of awareness and it has never dramatically dropped from those points. And we continue to use that strategy because we know that it's one that is certainly paying off, and we're seeing the demand from the store traffic that's coming in to each of our dealerships. The third thing is, in all those great media platforms, we needed to introduce some provocative creative. A progressive challenger brand is one that really pushes the envelope. It makes a difference and challenges kind of traditional thinking that exists out there in the marketplace. So whether it was when we first introduced the R8 in the Super Bowl back in 2008 and we said, we are a luxury brand of choice and we're here and we've put the luxury market on notice, just to kind of draw a line in the sand and challenge the status quo of what traditional luxury represents, or whether it's when we introduced TDI, where we said there's this bigger issue that exists in the U.S. marketplace about diesel products overall, that they're dirty and they're slow, and we challenged the convention and gained a bigger issue around foreign oil dependency and really rallied consumers around that conversation and challenged the conventional thinking that exists out that there is a better way, there is a better solution with clean diesel technology versus some of the other things that are being offered in the marketplace. So it's taking those things, and we've seen dramatic results. Overall, we've seen big image score lifts, and we've seen dramatic results. Even TDI is a tremendous example where just even this past month, TDI actually represents 66% of our overall mix of Q7 products here in the U.S. So that's a pretty big jump from what we were initially expecting on those. And the fourth area is, and a challenger brand does this, is taking that provocative action. And I think this is something that there's a whole host of examples. I've highlighted 3 or 4 here that make a great deal of sense. But you can say that you want to be in big media marketplace and have smart television commercials, but if you're not taking other actions to back up the fact that you are pushing the envelope, you're challenging the status quo that exists in the marketplace, you're not necessarily representing yourself as a brand that is complete in your approach overall. One of the things with the Audi A4 driving application, this was actually inspired by our Audi sports car experience and some of our driving experiences. We want people, because Audi is a brand that is engineered for drivers. We link very closely those two things. We wanted people to actually experience that. We took it to one of the first automotive driving applications. This stayed at the top of the list when some of the first iPhone apps were actually introduced out there. And it actually gave consumers the chance, when the A4 was introduced back in '08, to actually drive an Audi A4 on the track. So it was a great experience, got a tremendous amount of recognition. The other thing that we've done is, everybody's associated as far as product placement in feature films, and we have our own fair share of those. I'll talk about Iron Man in a moment. But the reality is we actually took some of our key partnerships, one with certainly our motorsports franchise in Le Mans, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which we have a tremendous success story behind, but also with a U.S. ski team, with Truth in Motion. We introduced this last year to tell the competition, the technology story, the progress story. When you think about a motorsports franchise and the U.S. ski team, they go through this tremendous amount of competition. And there's a lot of grit and sweat that goes into those. For the U.S. ski team, it's getting to that point where you actually make the U.S. ski team in the end and make it to the Olympics. And we actually built documentaries, partnered with them, actually got behind the scenes and filmed these whole experiences to tell their story, which is a parallel to what Audi goes through in the marketplace for the level of work that our engineers put into building all of our products and bringing them the best products to the marketplace for consumers. And the last thing was Progressive America, something near and dear to our hearts here in the D.C. area. We noticed from some of our research at the end of 2008, at the end of the election, that right after that point, it was this big tipping point in America and the consumer consciousness that people actually saw that there was going to be, at the point of the inauguration, this change. It was going to be this progressive moment in time. Regardless of your political affiliation, right or left, everybody thought that that was going to be a significant point in time, and consumers' mindsets were there. And so we took advantage of that opportunity and really told Audi's story of progress on that day. We told in a very tasteful way, the story of 30 years of quattro all-wheel drive technology and why it's a progressive movement. Talked about our TFSI engines and why bigger, faster, and fuel efficient can all come in the A4 more so than our competition. Talked about a doctor in Iowa who was the only one in his Audi A4 Quattro that was able to get to a woman who was in distress and take her to the hospital when helicopters and ambulances couldn't get there. And again, taking advantage of that point in time when consumers' mindset are, this is a point in time of change, a moment of progress in America. On the day of the inauguration, we did inserts in television takeovers as well as a variety of online homepage takeovers to kind of tell that story about Audi and note that moment of progress in America. So these are just some of the things that we've done to kind of follow up and I think have really kind of sealed the point where we've made that impact and built that level of awareness in America. And as I mentioned, things like the tremendous Iron Man franchise, over 250 million in gross sales to date, have been tremendous. Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 really featuring Audi and telling the story of an engineering feat moved forward in a really exciting and dramatic Hollywood fashion. Talked about our partnership with the U.S. ski team, which again is a tremendous alignment for competition and technology. Each of these individuals actually has a technician that works and helps them build their skis and make them precision oriented for each of their runs each day. And the last thing has been the game changer, our new models that have come to the Audi franchise. It's changed dramatically in the last 5 years when we've introduced supercars, coupes, convertibles, new crossovers. That has been a tremendous difference, and design has played a key role in that. And just to kind of give you a flavor of that, just in model year 10, we've introduced the Q5. We have 2 new diesel products, clean diesel products in our lineup through TDI with Q7 and the A3. The S4 sedan, which has been a tremendous game changer in the segment, has done really, really well for us. And we've seen new products, new variants introduced with the freshening of the Q7 as well as the A5 and the 4-cylinder as well as the Cabriolet. So these, again, are just new products to the franchise that have built a certain level of excitement and continue to kind of add to the momentum of the brand. And to talk about the S4, it has been one of these classic Audi stories where you start looking at what it was. It was a relatively low volume player for us as a brand, very exclusive, priced very high, and it was really competing directly with the M3. And what we did is re-engineered that product and repositioned it for the U.S. marketplace, where we took out the V8 and put a V6 turbo into it, put 19-inch wheels, sport styling around it. We increased the volumes substantially and kind of repositioned it, working with those of you in the press area to really focus it solely on the BMW 335i as our competitor. And this product has been a dramatic success for us. We've seen it win comparison tests with Car and Driver. It recently, as of 2 days ago, just was recognized as Esquire's Car of the Year. Tremendous opportunity to kind of take a product that wasn't necessarily as big of a player and, like Audi is doing in the U.S. market, really increase it and put it up against its competitors, and it certainly plays itself out for itself every time someone from the press gets behind the wheel. So it's been a fantastic story. And we've had others, with the Q5, we're in relatively low day supply on that, with strong turn rates. And, this has been another one, Car and Driver comparison test, along with the A6, continues to win every time it's out there. And consumers absolutely love this vehicle. So it's done really, really well for us. We're really excited about that. And TDI, TDI is another fantastic story when we start talking about, we brought the product to market, we challenged the convention that a clean diesel solution can't be a fair comparative. And when we look at alternative technology, fuel technologies that exist here in the marketplace, we've launched a tremendous social media campaign around that. We looked at some of the EPA facts and built this statement around, if 1/3 of Americans actually drove clean diesel products, we could send back 1.5 million barrels of oil each day. And that premise that we built on, and again, challenging the traditional thinking that existed out there, has led us to a real success story with these two products. They're turning almost 60% of our variant rate versus, in the Q7 and the A3 versus our base gasoline engine. So it's a really nice story, and we're really excited to continue to see Americans actually supporting this solution, because we think it's a viable one for today. When we look at what we've got coming up, some more exciting products to kind of introduce into the U.S. market. We're going to see a freshening of the TT this year and the R8. We're going to see the variants come with a GT and the Spider. And then as we look out across 2011 and 2012, we're looking at the A8 W12, the premier luxury sedan, and then an all-new introduction with the A7 and the new A6, and even a Q5 hybrid coming into our product portfolio, and even more products to come. These are just some of the ones that I know about today that I can share. So a lot of excitement when you think about where we've come from as a brand that 10 years ago was an A4, an A6, an A8, and TT squeezed in there a little bit. So where we stand right now is there's a great story behind the brand. We're on a roll. There's a lot of excitement with Audi. And there's a couple things that, as we kind of look at what's coming up next, that we want to focus on and we want to consider as a brand. We know that we need to change the conversation in America. I mentioned before, people need to have confidence. They need to consider you as a prestige brand to commit to $90,000 for an A8 or $50,000, $60,000 for an A6. One of our biggest challenges as we look at making that focus and looking at changing consumer perceptions in the U.S. is seeing where our competitors stand in what we call this CD segment focus. And when we see the CD segment, what we see is that our competitors, Mercedes-Benz and BMW, actually 43% and 31% of their sales respectively actually come from those higher-end products, their 5 Series, 7 Series, their E-Class and their S-Class. We don't necessarily play in that field right now, and we're really looking to change the game in that segment, because we know that that really places Audi in a premium position within the U.S. marketplace, and that's where we want to be. We know that there's a tremendous opportunity, and we know that we have the right products, just as we've had with A4, and our Q5s and our Q7s, but we know we have the right products and consumers have been waking up to that. Now we really want to ignite this segment and get these consumers on board to really understand the premier products that Audi brings to the marketplace. And then we look at the fact that when I talk about products, there's a certain level of